Okay, next is our module on co-occurring disorders or dual diagnosis. This is an area that I've been particularly interested in because I've worked with dual diagnosis teams for the last 25 years. It's also a population that I think we should be particularly concerned about because these are the modal or typical clients that we serve in the mental health system. Over half of the people that we serve also have co-occurring disorders. And unfortunately, mental health workers often think that these people have a poor prognosis. Vocational workers often think that these people are not good candidates for employment. Employers often are worried that these folks are dangerous or somehow a risk in the workplace. The evidence suggests that all of these perceptions are really myths. In fact, people with co-occurring disorders tend to have good social skills, they tend to have good vocational skills, they tend to have good potential for recovery, and we find that many of them begin the recovery process through working. That is, going to work provides them with motivation for cutting down or stopping their alcohol and drug use and becomes a very important part of their recovery. Yeah. So, to introduce this first video module, I'd like to call on Steve and Jean.
What you said, Bob, is very true, because quite often we forget that substance abuse is associated with unemployment. In this next video, Mika is meeting with Harry, who is looking for a job through supported employment. Mika has met with Harry before, and this is their second meeting to discuss the job development process and how things are going.
Mika has chosen to meet with Harry in a local coffee shop. She wants to get to know Harry in his community setting, a next step in building their team together as they proceed in the employment process. As you watch this video, keep in mind a few points. What strengths does Harry exhibit as the interview proceeds, and also what issues seem to emerge? What do you anticipate is Mika's sense of optimism about the success of their work together? And finally, what follow-up plans does Mika develop with Harry to take the next steps in the employment process?
Great. Okay. Let's watch this first demonstration now.
Welcome to Saltel. Will this table be okay?
This is great, thanks.
My name is Daisy. I'm going to be your server for today. Can I get you something to drink?
Just water's fine.
Okay.
Black coffee?
Okay, I'll be right back.
So how are you?
Okay, I'm doing all right.
Well, we met last week and we went over your employment plan. And have you given any more thought to that and what you want to do?
Yeah, it's a lot of what I told you last time, that I'm ready to work. I've done a lot of construction work and installed fences, work a lot with my hands.
Okay.
I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm ready to work, and I'm hoping that's what you can help me to do.
Okay.
I mean, can you do that?
Well, I hope I can.
Oh, good.
We talked a little bit about your last job, and you lost that job.
Do we have to go over this again? I mean, I'm willing to do it, but all right. The guys I worked with, we went out to a place,
right,
and one of them had been on my back a little, and we just got into it a little there, and I'm really upset about it because it didn't even happen during work, and
right,
they fired me from it, and I don't know why you bring that stuff up.
Well, I bring it up because I need to know, what happened. Where were you when this took place?
We went to a bar. We were at a bar after work. We went to a bar.
Well, that caused you to lose your job. So, are you in substance abuse treatment?
I don't drink. A lot of people on this job, they drink a lot more than I do. I think that the drinking is not a problem on the job. I'm also, I'm working with some of the counselors about it. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I mean, why do you even bring that up?
Well, because employers do your analysis, and I want to be able to help you get the job as well as keep the job. And those other guys, I mean, that's what they do, but it's you and I working on that.
The places I work at, they don't care about whether the guys start drinking at noon and they keep drinking during the rest of the day. And can't we find some places that they don't do that? They don't, make you take that. You think you can do that?
We'll have to look into it. The other guys.
Well, that's
aren't
your
our
job.
concern.
That's
my
your job.
You're right. My concern and my job is you. We'll see.
Okay, yeah,
well,
I hope so.
What about interviewing clothes?
You know, I mean, better. I mean, I'm going to work at like a construction sites, and this is what the kind of stuff that the guys wear there.
Well, something a little bit more dressier.
All right. You know, I promise to. You know, I got some better clothes, and sure, I'll wear the better clothes.
Okay, well, great. I'll be meeting with the treatment team in a couple of days, and I'm going to look to them for some direction, and I will give you a call next week, and thank you. And we'll just take the next steps from there. How's that?
That as long as it leads me to getting a job. I mean, I really need a job quickly, and you tell them that. Will you tell them that, please?
I will tell them that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, that was a good demonstration of what dual diagnosis clients are really like. What did you folks think as panel members?
Well, I'll start. I think that this was a nice demonstration of showing some of the difficulties that employment specialists face working with clients who are interested in competitive employment. And we're not quite sure that Mika really believes that this is going to happen. But she's not even really identifying strengths that Harry has, and that's such a critical part of job development and job matching. And Harry does have some strengths. He wants to work, and he even says, "I work outside, I do construction work." You know, he's really ready to go, and even he identifies that he's working with a counselor on his substance use, and so there's some positive things to be had here.
Although we don't know what Mika is thinking in this demonstration, based on our experiences and the nonverbal cues in this demonstration, we have a pretty good idea. Mika wants to help Harry find a job, but based on Harry's problems with alcohol use, she's concerned that the job match is going to be one that's very important. And she also wants to help Harry find a job that fits with what he would like to do in an environment that he would like. She's also a little overwhelmed on a plan to help Harry based on his alcohol use, and that his alcohol use may be more of a problem than she realized, and more of a problem than Harry is actually confessing to.
And I think those are all important points, Steve. I think Harry, much like many of the folks that we see in supported employment, is presenting with a few complicating challenges to getting a job. One of the things that we see here is while Mika seems to be struggling some as the employment specialist, she's still staying in there and still working with him. And I don't think she's developed that plan yet. And I think we hear one of the things she's saying, I'll be meeting with the team, and maybe there's some hope on her part that team's going to help her sort of come to a place about where can I go forward with this. But we see her sort of steadfast commitment here that we're really going to need to move forward, but maybe I just don't know the way to do that yet. And the other thing that really just strikes me is, even though she seems to be struggling with that, she's also being clear about what you said. I really want to find a good job match, and she's adding one that works out for you. So it's not just, let's get a job match, but let's work together to find something that we can be successful in supporting you with as we move forward.
Right.
Okay, thanks panel. I think you really clarified where we are at this point in the module. This next demonstration is going to show the multidisciplinary team meeting, and will suggest some of the ways that these dilemmas can get resolved. So, Gene, would you start the introduction?
Sure, Bob. As it takes a whole village to raise a child, mental illness, and particularly mental illness coupled with addictions, strikes at all aspects of an individual's life quite often. So therefore it requires a broad range of knowledge, expertise, and passion to help people with mental illness not only both move down the recovery path, but also move into and succeed in competitive employment. This next demonstration is of a team meeting that includes people with a broad range of expertise. As you watch this video, consider who are the team members, what do they contribute, who might also be added to the team, or are there other possibilities, other supports, and finally, how does this process end? What does Mika, as the person coming from the meeting with Harry, gain from this meeting?
You know, Gene, one of the things you mentioned there was who's on this team and to think about that. And one of the things that we have on this team is the presence of a vocational counselor from vocational rehabilitation. And one of the things to look at here is what does that counselor bring? What is a different perspective and how is this enriched by that process? We often hear a lot of people say that, well, we'd have these team meetings if we only had the time. And one of the things that might be useful to do is just watch how long the run time is for this meeting and how much information is shared that's helpful to Harry, that's helpful to Mika, that's helpful to other team members here. It'd be interesting to think about as we see this, some of the questions maybe that we just asked before. What does Mika have for a plan now in her work with Harry? What's she going forward with? Maybe what's her sense of hope? And maybe we could check in on what next steps we see after we take a look at this video. Why don't we watch that now and then see where we are after that?
Now that we do have everyone here, I think we should get started. Before we do that, I wanted to introduce Dr. Swanson, our new psychiatrist on the team. And maybe we can go around and say who we are and what we do. I'm Laura. I provide substance abuse counseling.
Hi, Laura.
I'm Becca. I'm the vocational rehabilitation counselor.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm with the housing department.
Hi, Sharon.
Mika, employment specialist.
Hi, Mika.
Yeah.
And I'm Sarah. I'm glad to be part of the team.
Yeah. And I'm Nicole. I'm a case manager.
Hi, Nicole.
Okay, and the first person we have on our list is Harry to discuss. I'll start. I have been working with Harry for about a year now on substance abuse counseling, and he still struggles with how his marijuana and alcohol use is impacting his life. But he is interested in employment. He has a great relationship with his daughter. He's really proud of her. Right now, we're talking about his attending a dual diagnosis group, so that's good.
Yeah, we met earlier this week, and we got to talking about substance abuse and interviewing, and that employers will ask for your analysis, and I'm really concerned about burning bridges with the employers in the community, and this was a pretty intense meeting, so I'm going to need some direction about where to go with Harry.
I used to work with the previous employment specialist, Kim, and she had a good relationship with Harry. And one of the ways that we dealt with the substance abuse drug testing was found employers that didn't require that. And obviously always making sure that we were trying to find employers that were important to Harry.
So it sounds like everybody is in agreement that Harry has problems with substances. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about his diagnosis.
Oh, yeah, sure. Our working diagnosis right now is bipolar disorder with substance use disorder. As I mentioned, he uses alcohol and marijuana. He's demonstrated some soft signs of something organic, maybe indicative of a head trauma, but we're continuing to evaluate that.
Well, I guess my concern is that he's still using substances, and we're talking about employment here. And,
right.
I've noticed that sometimes when people with substance abuse go back to work, that paycheck can really be a trigger.
Well, yeah, I work with Harry pretty frequently, and I think he would be open to talking with me about that and sort of coming up with a plan ahead of time. I could even go over maybe on his payday and take him to the bank and take him to the store and have a good plan for how to prevent that from happening. But I just remember the last time that he was working, he really seemed to just do better overall. I mean, his substance use went down because he wasn't drinking while he was at work, and he just generally felt better about himself. You could see it, And as Laura mentioned, he's a great dad and loves his daughter. And when we talked last week, he brought up Christmas and wished that he was able to do more for her for Christmas. So I think that could be a really good motivator for him, his desire to provide for her.
From my perspective, he's really just followed all the rules and expectations of the apartment, and anything that we ask him to do, he does.
Well, and stable housing is one of the conditions he needs to meet in order to maintain those visitation rights from his daughter.
Right. Well, I know he missed his appointment with you last week. He said it was too early, 8:30 in the morning. So, I'm saying, Harry, what are you going to do about it's time for an interview, when you get a job and, getting to work on time?
Yeah, I mean, he did miss his appointment, but what's great about Harry is he called right away to reschedule. So we have an appointment, and it would be great if you could join us. I'm wondering on that whole 8:30 thing, if there's someone that can wake him up in the morning?
I can help you out with that. I'll have one of the residential staff come and wake him up in the morning. I just hope he won't take anybody's head off,
Right.
Harry does have some problems with his anger sometimes, but that's something that we continually work on the two of us. Come up with, I think, some good techniques for him and some strategies for him to manage his outbursts.
If you could share those coping skills with me, that would be so helpful. Because when he does get a job and I'm job coaching, I can refresh his memory and that'll give me something to work on. And I mean, he really wants a job in construction. There's going to be safety concerns, and substance abuse again is going to come up. So.
From my standpoint, it's definitely a concern, but it's important that he addresses his substance abuse issues. And, you know, at the same time, we also need to keep in mind that he did really well on the job before.
You know, I don't know how many of you know, but my husband works in construction, and he just shared with me the other day that some of the guys are in AA. So I could try to get Harry the numbers of these guys, and they could maybe talk to each other.
Good idea.
Oh, that'd be great. Terrific.
That would be great.
And that works well with, you know, what Harry and I are working on too, so terrific.
Okay. Well, this has been helpful. I appreciate you guys helping me work through this and giving me some more direction. Thank you.
Okay, and thanks, Mika, because we want to let you know it's really important to us that you're working with him around employment. We have seen how this has helped people reduce their substance use, so thank you. And just to wrap up, I just want to make sure, you know, the two of you are going to meet.
Yeah, I'll be in
talk about
contact.
coping skills, and you'll meet with Becker around setting up another appointment. Yeah, and then you're going to help make that contact with your husband, right? Okay, so we do need to move on.
Okay, that was an excellent segment, I think, and illustrates many things about how teamwork can happen in a mental health center. But what the rest of you panelists think?
Well, Bob, while the team still struggles to help Harry understand the connection between his drinking and the problems that he's had, they also highlighted some of his strengths. For example, Harry had a very good relationship with his previous vocational rehabilitation counselor. Harry is very interested in going back to work. Harry is very interested in dealing with his alcohol abuse so that he can be involved in his daughter's life, because being a father to his daughter is a very important thing to him and a big incentive for Harry. And finally, Harry really wants to go to work, and he's done well in his apartment program and continues to do well because he really understands that that's important for him to be in his daughter's life again. So I think Harry is trying to work on his substance abuse. The team recognizes that. They're trying to build on his strengths so he can get a job and keep a job.
And I think this team is just a shiny example of what we talk about for integration and supported employment. You don't get the feeling there that anybody's saying, oh, it's your job, Mika, or it's your job, Nicole. You see the whole team at the table talking about what do we all have to contribute, whether it's I'm helping Harry with anger management, or I'm helping Harry with his substance use, or I can help with the relationship with the vocational rehabilitation counselor. You see the whole team coming together to support Harry's goals and Harry's employment career and his path. And I think there's something just marvelous about that is so much different than if somebody's left to do that by themselves. I just wish that this was a model that more people would have the opportunity to not only participate in, but more clients would have the opportunity to benefit from as they forward their career path. And the other piece I just add there is just the spirit of this team. Not only do we see the skills and strategies, but everybody's in there in a hopeful, supportive, and this is our job to help people move forward collaboratively with their goals.
Absolutely. This demonstration really is in contrast to when we saw Mika by herself, and she's struggling, you know, what are her next steps? You can almost feel it, what's going to happen, but now the team has talked about it. They have specific next steps. Nicole, the case manager, is going to share tips on coping mechanisms that they have been talking about. The voc rehab counselor is going to get Harry hooked up again. The housing person is going to help make sure that he gets up for his job. And so you really see the difference between when you're doing it alone and when you're sharing it with your team members and coming up with a thoughtful plan way of doing it.
Sure. I think this video is also a good illustration of the potential roles of the vocational rehabilitation counselor. First of all, it's not unusual that VR counselors have a long tenure in their jobs. Therefore, as you saw in this clip, the counselor was able to talk about over a long-term perspective of Harry's strengths and what's worked for him in the employment search process. Also, VR counselors, by the nature of what they do, have access to a wide array of resources that support employment at the local, state, and even federal level. Vocational rehabilitation is a system that it has a corporate culture, as it were, that values employment. And again, I think you saw in this clip that the counselor was able to kind of bring and reinforce that feeling and that message in the team meeting. And also the marvelous kind of informal cross-training about the different competencies and coping strategies and so forth allows the VR counselor to not only become aware of those and deal with perhaps her concerns about Harry's continued substance abuse, but also to reinforce those in a variety of ways. So very much a win-win for everyone involved.
I agree.
Great. I wish that every mental health program in the country would be able to offer the kind of services for co-occurring disorders that we saw here. It's really a model, and I appreciate all of you commenting on that. This is the end of our third module, and so we're really done with the vignettes at this point. I'd just like to provide a summary as we end here. We've tried to cover some of the important strategies that are involved in employment services, supported employment for people who have psychiatric disabilities. We went over first some of the strategies that employment specialists use in terms of developing jobs with employers and trying to help make sure that the employer's needs are met completely in the job matching and in the job success. We next talked about what it's like to work directly with clients and their families or support networks in terms of really understanding what their needs and desires are and developing a job that matches who they are. And finally, we addressed the difficult problem of helping people who have co-occurring disorders or dual diagnosis to find employment and to have enough of a support plan that they can be successful in their employment. And I think we saw terrific vignettes related to all of these skills. I hope these vignettes are helpful to you folks out there watching. If they raise questions that you'd like to have further information on, please feel free to contact us at Dartmouth. Our phone number is 603-448-0263, or you can email us at karen.dunn, that's D-U-N-N, karen.dunn@dartmouth.edu. Just write to Karen or call her and tell us what you're most interested in, and we'll try to provide you the information that you're looking for. Finally, I'd like to thank Johnson & Johnson for making this video possible. I'd like to thank our excellent panelists for their participation today, and I'd like to thank all of the people who participated in making the videos today. And thank you folks out there for watching.